Some feedback also, I'm hearing it. The topic for this evening is a critical topic. And is that what it is? We're fine. Okay, I'll manage, inshallah. Okay, we need one mic, just like, it's kind of like has three employers, but one employee, yeah? Anyway. The subject for this evening, inshallah, is an extremely important subject. And it is a subject, we were talking about it today, well, Yawm al-Jumu'ah just ended, but we spoke about it in the khutbah today as well. When we were asking the question right here, what is the meaning of the word ahl? All right? قُوا أَنفُسُكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. So here, the usual translation is قُوا أَنفُسُكُمْ, save yourself, right? Save yourselves, وَأَهْلِيكُمْ, and your family, from what? From the hellfire. This is a correct translation, but not an accurate translation. Do you understand the difference? Correct means it like, technically, it's kind of like, I usually explain it like the dartboard. You hit the dartboard. Not a bullseye, but you hit the dartboard. It's correct. Is it accurate? Meaning, is it a bullseye? No. And we went over that again. Please refer to the khutbah and the recording and everything from today, but just the gist of it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is saying, Ya Nuh, right? So, innahu laysa min ahlik. Talking about Ibn Nuh alayhi salam, the son of Nuh alayhi salam. So when Nuh alayhi salam, he's saying that, Ya Allah, you promised to save my ahl. You promised to save my family. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs Nuh alayhi salam that he is not from your ahl. And then Allah ta'ala explains why. Innahu amalun ghayru salih. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him an identity. The son of Nuh alayhi salam. Amalun, that he is action, which is other than righteous. Meaning, like, this is who he is. There's something incredibly important there for all of us. This is who he is. And because this is who he is not from your ahl. So now when we say families, we have a problem, don't we? When ahl just means my family. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Nuh alayhi salam, and he said that what? The issue is your ignorance. Yes.
Somebody parked on the side. There are two cars. Can I announce it? We need to set them. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for inconvenience. Yeah. There's two cars, one in Honda Odyssey and Honda Accord. One is gray and the other one is brownish, new model. It's parked in the parking lot C. We are trying to set up for Eid Fest tomorrow, so please move your car. They were closed, and for some reason, somebody opened the door and parked it in.
MashaAllah. What? Somebody did that? At the Masjid? On Jumu'ah? When everybody double parks and leave their cars in like random places? Okay. So why is this important to us? This is important to us because unfortunately, when we're talking about the youth, the first issue is that we are all trying to tackle it on our own. So I have parents that are coming and they're saying that I am worried about my kids, which is completely understandable. I have children myself, right? We're always worried about our children, right? Their psychological well-being, their spiritual well-being, their emotional and mental well-being, their physical well-being, right? We're always worried about our kids. Now, the issue with this is that the parents are coming and they're only worried about their kids. Whereas this says, all the kids. All the kids. Each and every one of them, they are our responsibility collectively. So now when we're looking at the ayah of Quran, we have to look at it. No, this is the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the order of Allah. And now Allah ta'ala is ordering us to do what? Number one, the priorities are as established. That the first priority of change, your first priority in terms of eligibility for salvation is you. Meaning before you can address your ahl, you must address you first. This is a common problem. Everybody wants to talk about politics. They want to talk about this issue, this problem, that problem. They want to get into fiqh discussions and like, subhanallah, you don't even have the basics down. And if you and I don't have the basics down, then what is our situation if we were to die in this moment? Because we're not going to care about the politics. We're not going to care about the economics. We're not going to care who's in power. We're not going to care about like what my neighbor's doing or not doing or what this one's doing and that one's doing. I am going to care about what is my situation in the sight of Allah. That's important. Why? Because we're going to get to that in just a second. As soon as because again, I'm waiting for the parents who are going to show up and say like this. Sheikh, please, I'm worried about my kids. Please help me become the best father or the best mother that I could possibly be. I'm waiting. It hasn't happened. They'll say they're worried about their kids and they'll want to talk about what the kids should do, can do, need to do. They'll talk about what the community or the board can do, should do, need to do. But when it comes to them, there is no discussion. And this is the root core problem. The parents, you and I. The uncles and aunties, that's you and I. The mentors and the examples, the living role models for that generation. Again, it's you and I. So now when we look at the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala an, he narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, undoubtedly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with you by three things and displeased with you by three things. He is pleased for you to, number one, worship Him without associating anything with Him. No shirk. Number two, to hold fast to the rope of Allah altogether. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Right? It's the ayah from the Quran. Then now, this is from the ayah. And do not become divided. Meaning, you look at all three things. Look at number one, do not commit shirk. Look at number two, hold on to the Quran and the deen of Muhammad altogether. Altogether. And what's number three? That if you do number one and if you do number two, then how is number three possible? Unless your egos get involved. Do you see? So now, what is the thing? So he's displeased with you to gossip amongst yourselves, to ask many unnecessary questions, and to waste your wealth. This is my ask. What does it have to do with youth? Because if we're not doing this, the first three, but we are doing the second three, then what type of environment and atmosphere are we generating for our children? That's the question. That's the issue. So this is what we want to look at, the environment. So now we always want to function from the template of Nabi alayhi salatu salam. He is uswatun hasana. There is nothing in his life or specifically within that 23-year period which is not important. Every last detail is critical. Every last detail is important. This is the reason why he told the Sahaba that no, even when I'm jesting or I'm joking with you, I am serious. I can only speak the truth. Right? So now let's look at the template. So when we look at Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in the beginning in Sirah, that we see that in Mecca, the early Muslims, what did they suffer? So they can't develop the necessary environment and atmosphere. Why? Because of persecution, corruption, shirk, kufr, and they didn't have control of the leadership. So now they don't have control of the environment. And if you don't have control of the environment and you have bad leadership within that environment, you have no other option but to remove yourself from that environment. So now, with the inability to follow the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam as the leader of the entire community, that's a problem. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have him do? So now he's going to Ta'if. He's speaking to different peoples from different areas, trying to find a place. Where is this place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to have us go to establish this environment and atmosphere? Right? And alhamdulillah, the Aus and Khazraj, right, from Yathrib, from Medina, and alhamdulillah, they become the Ansar. Yeah? This is the place. Another one? MashaAllah, this is the week of tornado warnings. Allahumma inna nasaluka al-afwa wa al-afiyah. Don't worry about it, you're in the safest place possible. It's not that easy to die in the masjid, trust me. If we do, we're lucky, MashaAllah. Okay, so now, subhanAllah, so now we know that the whole point of Medina is what? That we need to be able to establish the environment and atmosphere of taqwa and the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And we need to be able to govern the masses so that we facilitate the obedience of Allah. That's what government is about in Islam. Forget all the madness, forget all the nonsense, forget all the political maneuvering. What is the whole point of government in Islam? The whole point of government in Islam is to what? Facilitate the obedience of Allah. That's the whole point. So any government that is not facilitating the obedience of Allah is by default a failure in the sight of Allah. Period. Right? So now we know that this is the desired thing because we have to raise children in this environment. That's how important it is. Our women need to be secure in this environment. That's how important it is. We ourselves need a place of safety and security, especially here in this environment, because we're living in a Meccan place. This is not Medina, my beautiful brothers and sisters in Islam. So now, how do we look at this? So now we understand that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and the Sahaba, they make hijrah. Why do they make hijrah? What's the whole point? It's evidence, it's proof that they were ready to do whatever is necessary to establish the atmosphere and environment of what? Taqwa. Why is that so important? Because that's the foundation of the masjid. It's not concrete. It's not dollar bills. It's not people with influence in social settings. It's taqwa. You need the environment and the atmosphere so you can generate and build taqwa. That is the foundation of not just the masjid, because when you say masjid, you're talking about the community of ibad. Ibadullah. Right? So a lot of the issues and questions that we have across the country, I want to make sure that I'm specifically not referring to Al-Huda. I've been, blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to travel a lot and see so many different areas in North America, small towns, big towns, major cities, big masjids, small masjids, you name it, right? So when I'm speaking in general. I'm speaking in general. But we know that the vast majority of our masajid in the U.S. do not resemble, in terms of action, in terms of leadership, in terms of priorities, etc., they do not resemble Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and his methodology, his lifestyle, his principles, and his priorities. Why? Because taqwa is supposed to be the foundation. We have masajid first, now we have to build the taqwa after. That's why it's challenging. That's the reason why it's challenging. That's the reason why so many, think about this, for Salat al-Asr. Now mind you, we have to have two Jumu'ahs, Salat al-Jumu'ah, and one is completely packed, the other one, depending on which weekend it is, but it's for here at least, right? It's almost packed too. But for Salat al-Asr, now mind you, this is not winter time. We're not talking about Salat al-Asr at 3:30. Salat al-Asr here this week is 6:30. Most of us have already gotten off from work. Actually, it's a pit stop on your way home, isn't it? Or it could be. But our masajid, not just this, all across the country, If we were to compare how many people came for Salatul Jumu'ah and how many people showed up for like Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, let's check all three. What are the percentages? What are the ratios? Because it tells the story. Forget about what we say. Forget about what we like to think about ourselves. Forget about what we like to project to non-Muslims or to other communities. Forget about all of these self-delusion. Let's just look at the reality of our actions on the ground. What's happening with our youth? What's happening with converts? These people that Allah is giving hidayah. We always say, Allahu yahdi man yasha. Okay, Allah guides whomever He wills. Now He guided them. What'd you do with them? Did you take care of them? When we look at our masajid, are they filled? Are they close? When you look at the unity, even the people who come into the masjid, do they bother? Can you tell that they have relationships, connections, ties, that they know each other? Or are they strangers passing each other in the masjid? When I say like complete strangers, meaning like don't even know his name. Right? When you look at knowledge in our communities and educational, number one, what is the level of educational opportunities in our masajid in North America? What is the level? Right? Then now when you look at that, what is the attendance? These are all the things that actually lead to the problems that we have with our children. Meaning that the issues with our young people is just a branch issue. It is not a root issue. It is one of many branches. Why? We need to make spiritual hijrah. Meaning, leave off that lifestyle. Leave off your old habits. Leave off your previous set of priorities. Leave off your previous way of thinking. Leave off all of those things that have been active impediments in your life. Leave them off. Make hijrah. Leave them behind. And do what? How do you know when you've done it? Because this will happen. You will be willing to make sacrifice, effort. You will be dedicated. You will be committed. You will have a mindset and an attitude of if Allah Ta'ala, if all the Muslims in the world were to fall and I was the last one standing, I will stand by myself. That's deen. You have to be willing to be the last one and hold your ground. Now, what is to say that we're not even close to being the last one? Oh, we love numbers. There's like 1 billion Muslims on the planet. It's like, yeah, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talked about aktharuhum, most of them. We don't buy into the whole like numbers game. We don't buy into the majority game. We're not about the quantity, we're all about the quality. So let's look at the quality of that 1 billion. How many are willing to do this? Right? Ultimately, this is the root of our issue. Whatever branch, pick your branch. Youth is just a branch. It's just a branch on a tree with a lot of issues. Now, those issues came about as a direct result. It's causality, cause and effect. Meaning, there has to be a cause. This stuff didn't just happen on its own. There has to be a cause. So what is the cause? It was well, non-Muslim society X, Y, and Z. Okay. So if that's the case, because we all agree, it's a society of kufr and shirk and like, mashallah, subhanallah, we have all the sins that are being promoted. We have access to sins. It's like, if you want to commit any sin, I mean, we're in Chicago. It's Friday night. Pretty much like anything, everything is accessible to you. This is the third largest city in the country. Right? So we're in this environment. So now, yeah, subhanAllah, we're here surrounded by kufr and shirk. So this is why this is happening to our kids. No. If what you're saying is true, you and I have to leave. If what you're saying is true, you and I have to leave. Because that means that there is a situation that exists where we are in a context where our children are being victimized and abused. They're being spiritually and psychologically molested. And if you're saying that we can't do anything about it, then that means you and I need to leave. But that's not our situation. We can do something about it. We can do this. We can actually start to understand the challenge. And by understanding the challenge, we'll understand what happens if we don't meet this challenge. So let's take a look at the children on your left-hand side. Now on the top, you see non-Muslim influence and lifestyle being promoted. Follow with me. This is a normal course. This is our young people. This is what they go through. Many of you may have gone through this yourselves. First, it's all about what? Your career and socializing. This is young people. It's about getting your education. You got to get good grades, right? It's about going to college and preparatory school for college and whatever your exam scores and what college you're going to get into. And then it's all about socializing. So you're with your family and you go for this dawah this weekend and that dawah this weekend and this dawah that weekend, and you got to go do a family thing, and then there's this family thing, and next thing you know, and you're like, and this is what you do. It's all about dawahs, right? Socializing. You and family, you, your friends, and get an education. Why? So you can get a good job. Because that's the next step. Because in order to be success in life, you have to have money. You can't be successful without money. You can't be happy without money. You need money. You can't get married without money. You can't have kids without money. You can't live life without money. You need money. And with money, and with your education, and with your degree comes social status. And that's the reason why, mashallah, we have so many parents and they love announcing their children. By what? Their job. Depending on if they're proud or not. Huh? I have kids that they actually like young people. And they say, I know my parents aren't happy. Why? Because I didn't become a doctor. Well, how do you know they're unhappy with you? Because my brother is a doctor, and when they introduce him, they say this is my son so-and-so, he's a physician, and he's I don't want to say his specialty, right? And this is my other son, and he just gives my name. So he feels bad, right? So subhanAllah, your work, what you do for a living, your career, where you went to school, what titles you have, what letters you have before your name or after your name, Esquire. It all matters. Why? Because that's how you're going to get married. Because you can see you got to submit your resume. And your resume needs to have the same thing, like a job, right? So I need where you go to school, how much money you have, where you're working at right now, like a resume. About what? Your dunya. So you can get married. And you need money to get married. And then you have kids. 2.5. 2.5 is America. So now what is it about? Now it's all about doing what? Acquiring possessions. Now I want a house, and I want a car, and I want this, and I want a boat, and I want a motorcycle, and I want this, and so now I'm going to buy land, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to buy some stocks, and I want to do this. Now I'm accumulating. أنهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. Takathur. Gathering, hoarding, collecting. And then what? Advancement. Advancement in my career, advancement in the community, advancement Somalia, they get into politics. I want to be advanced. And this is perceived success. Now on the dini side, go all the way back to the beginning, career and socializing. And remember, this is childhood now. So now with childhood, what do we give the kids in terms of deen? They get Basic, generic community exposure. Again, family and socializing, coming to the masjid for salat, or maybe Jumu'ah, Eid, Sunday school. And that's it. So that you know, across the country, as I'm talking to board members and community members from different masajid, different cities across the country, and they're saying the same thing, by the time they get to high school, they don't want anything to do with us. 16, 17, 18 years old, before they go to college, it is too difficult. We can't get them in the masajid. We can't get them for programs. Like, they have their own identities. They have their own opinions. They have their own lives. They're on their own. They're doing their own thing. And I'm not going to fight them to get them to come to the masjid. Too late. At that juncture, it's too late. That is a grown adult. We call them children. Okay? But again, when does a marriage take place? Think about it. At what age? Be back there in a second. Established lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Sahaba, right underneath it. This is the way that it's supposed to go. Now, in a proper environment and atmosphere, what are you working on first with the child? Akhlaq. How they are. That they should be kind, that they should be polite, that they should be courteous, that they should be selfless. That's what we teach them. That's where we start, right? If we start there, right, you think about it. Now you have somebody that is humble, mannered, cultured, right? Now you can actually engage them truly in the educational process. That's the whole point. Because remember something, when you're dealing with like a 2-3-year-old, right, you handle like the parenting thing and everything, right? So 2 to 3-year-old, almost like what you're dealing with is pure nafs. You know how they say terrible twos? Okay? What you're dealing with is almost pure nafs. Because now what's happened is that nafs of the child, right, also has the ability to do a couple of things also now. Move, walk, and here's the big one, talk. Before, I don't like, smile, cry. That was like the full extent of their arsenal, right? But now you have vocabulary. Now they want to speak their minds, and I like this, and I don't like that, and I want this, and I don't want that, and why do you do this? And by the time they hit 4 or 5 years old, everything out of their mouth starts with what, why, how, when, where, right? Isn't it? They get in that inquisitive stage. So for us, we have to look at them and say that now, akhlaq is what we're going to focus on first. Why? We need to deal with their nafs. And during this time, the child learns their purpose, identity, responsibilities, the importance of education, and continued growth. Right from the very beginning. The maturation process is fully engaged in collectively by the community to assist in this. We're all a part of the process. It's not just the parents who are left out there on an island to raise these kids. There's some things that, for instance, my son, he hears it from me, he's going to take it one way. But he hears it from you as an uncle, he's going to take it some way. And he might be more receptive hearing it from his uncle that he loves. Your relationship with him is different than my relationship. I'm his father. Do you see what I mean? It takes all of us collectively. Our kids need all of us. Each and every one of you have something special to give to each and every one of these children. I don't know what it is. It's between you and Allah and those kids. But each and every one of you, you're Muslim. I guarantee you, you have something special to give to these kids. I promise you. It's just a matter of what, right? So then we focus on aqeedah and selflessness, meaning they need to know what is reality, what is truth. How in the world are we going to send our kids through life without knowing what reality and truth are? What kind of sense does that make? Are you with me? So they end up believing, going to like, subhanAllah, think about this. Then they go on like how much of their life believing a lie? We're wrapping up the Aqeedah series at another masjid, mashallah, and we were having a discussion this week. Ahbab, we have Muslims The brother was shocked. We have Muslims that come up, like we talked about shaitan is a jinn. The Muslims are like, what? He's a jinn? I'm not even sure if I believe in jinns. This is the type of things, Muslims are making these statements. So I thought he was a fallen angel. I'm like, this is from Christianity. Where did you get this from? Who told you this? You're from a Muslim family. Where did this come from? It says in the Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, Kana min al-jinn, that he was from amongst the jinn. It's there clearly. It's not min mutashabihat. You know, I'm not sure like how the ta'wil, the interpretation. No, it's there, clear, right there in front of you. But we have young people that don't even know the basics. And when I say basics, I'm not like, don't take like basics meaning generic. No, basics meaning this is what is absolutely eligible for our salvation. If you do not believe this, you cannot be a Muslim. If you deny this, you are not a Muslim. Can a Muslim say that I don't believe that Iblis was a jinn? Can a Muslim say that? No. Oh, you can say it. May Allah Ta'ala protect us from ever saying anything of that nature. The problem is the realm of causality that we live in. Because as soon as the person says it, it removes them from the fold of Islam. And now tajdeedul iman is now wajib. Now you have to renew your iman. And to let you know how bad it gets, do you know that like for khutbahs and everything, like this is what we're dealing with. I am so careful. If I don't have a khutbah, I am so careful and cautious about where I'll go. Because I have been to masajid where the khatib is uttering statements of kufr as he's doing his talk. Out of ignorance. And whoever put him up there, it's on them, collectively. I'm not talking about this one. I haven't run into that Al-Huda, by the way. I don't want anybody coming like, you made it seem like, no, that's not what I'm saying. It just happened to be, think a member generic, okay? Different places, okay? So now, what happens is with this, now with the aqidah in place, the akhlaq in place, selflessness in place, you're treating and raising an adult, not a child. You're not telling the 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 26, 27, 28, 29. You're still saying child. You're still like 35, 36, 37, 38 years old, and they're just now getting their first bank account, separate from their parents. We have grown men. They can't make decisions in their own home because they're scared to make a decision without asking their mommy and daddy. I'm like, you're 44 years old, brother. When does it stop? When do you live your life? So now, subhanAllah, marriage and work. You see that? You're a man now. You're a woman now. You have a responsibility in the community. When do you really become a part of the community? When you get married, because now you're officially in a family. Regardless of if you have kids or not. You are now, once you get married, you are now a family within that community. Now the thing about it is here, when does this marriage take place? Do you know the age? In our history. What do you think the age range was for this whole marriage thing? You know? What if I told you that there's some of the Sahaba that between them and their child, their son, is only 12, 13, 14, or 15 years difference? How does your Western mindset tackle that? With the arbitrary number of 18. Do you see? My grandmother's generation, my grandmother, who I knew and loved, they got married at 13, 14. They had kids by the time they were 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. If you weren't married by the time you were 18 years old, or God forbid you reached 20, and you're not married, it's like something's wrong with them. Something's wrong with them. How come nobody's marrying her? How come nobody's marrying him? Now, because what happens when they get married young? They get to grow together. And that's if they're the same age. We look at the life, Sirah, we look at the life of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and his first wife was what? Older. Why? She taught him marriage. She's already experienced. She's already been married. She's 40 years old. She's 15 years his senior. She's already had kids. And now this beautiful individual, this amazing individual who we know as Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she has now impacted Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in such a way that in part she has defined marriage and motherhood for us. With Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. But then the wives after that were what? Younger. Sometimes significantly younger. So now your age game, how does your age game, the Western age game, how does that work here? Where did it come from? This is not Islamic. So now we have these young people who can't get married because they're told money is the most important thing. So now you know what they're out here doing. They're committing zina. I have multiple cases in front of me right now where brothers have gotten young ladies pregnant. It's real. And they're not even married. It's real. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They know I don't judge them. I'm there to help them get closer to Allah. So they tell me everything. They have to, in order for me to be able to help. I have to stop them. Don't get into the gory details. I don't need that much detail. Just give me the overview. Headlines only, please. It's rough. And I'm going to tell you one word. I'm going to put one word, what young people are going through. I'm going to give it to you in one word. Pain. Pain. That's where all the, anxiety and depression and stress and this and that and the other and digestive issues and this issue and that issue. Sisters with their hair falling out because of the stress, depression, and their hair's falling out. Not wanting to go to school. Social media has crashed their lives. Right? Why? Because we didn't do this. Meanwhile, I have the blessing. There are some communities that they're like, no, we want no part of this. So what they do is, they actually, as soon as the kids finish high school, they've already got plans to get them married. As soon as they finish high school, marriage is like right there around the corner. Then what they do is like, you're married now. They may go to the same school, university, they may go to different universities. Doesn't matter. But then whenever they have breaks, they get together. This one, now they go to this one's home, now they're at this other family's home. So whenever they have breaks, they get together, right? You have the summers, you have the winter break, you got that break and this break. And then on top of that, instead of them like messing around with other boys and girls in their university, they have each other. So now they're texting and talking on the phone and all that kind of good stuff, mashallah, that young people love to do. And it's halal, and it's healthy, and they're learning about each other, and they're growing and they're maturing together. It's beautiful. And now I've been around long enough by Allah's fadl that I get to see them 20 years later. I get to see them, they have grown kids now. They themselves have kids, 16, 17, 18 years old now. Allahu Akbar. It's amazing. So who said that our young people can't get married? And if we're the ones who are telling them, then who's actually also has to share the responsibility for all the zina? And that's in the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. We are all responsible. As parents, we share a degree of responsibility in the lives of our children. So if we didn't teach them something that they needed to know, then we share that responsibility if they committed sin. If we taught them something that was wrong, and now that causes them to engage in something which displeases Allah, then we are also partially accountable for that sin. Islam saves us by following the template. Because now that I'm taking care of my work, we're not saying, like, get a degree. Like, again, look at our history. We excelled at everything from engineering to medicine, astronomy, architecture, everything. So if we're talking about, well, brother, like, we have to work, we have to get educated, we can't fall behind. A Muslim need not think like that. Because a Muslim understands that as a Muslim, I am going to strive for excellence in anything that I do. So if I decide to be a farmer, I'm going to strive for excellence in farming. If I decide to be a doctor, I'm going to strive for excellence in medicine. That's what we do as Muslims. But it doesn't become my identity. What kind of generic thing is that? Who are you? I'm a doctor. Who are you? I'm an engineer. Who are you? I don't know about these guys. I'm the Abd of Allah. What do you do for a living? Ibadah. Didn't you just hear me? No, what do you do for money? I make dua and then I go to work. What do you do? I make dua and I got my education, then I make dua, Allah give me a job, then I make dua, Allah give me the ability to fulfill that job. Oh Allah, you provided that paycheck from said job. Allah pays my bills. That is an environment to raise kids in. That is a stable environment and an atmosphere, right? Where think about the type of fruit that is produced from those homes. Think about what the child will experience in that type of home. That's objective success. Objective success. في الدارين في الدنيا وفي الآخرة. So now, here's the hard part. We're wrapping up. Here's the hard part. It's the same thing that was up there in the previous. Yeah? Now let's look at this. So community exposure and Sunday school education, insufficient education, and daily practical examples. Confusion between culture and Islam. This is what's happening. This is reality. Career and socializing. Here's the question. While we're busy sending these kids to go to this school and go to the university, and I ask parents this, and again, most of them do not have answers, but they're really adamant about sending their kids. Who is teaching your children? Who is this person? As a Muslim, as talib al-ilm, one of the most important principles for us that when we're learning deen is you must know where you are getting this from. You have to know your source of knowledge. And that goes for the teacher and everything that the teacher is giving you. Meaning I open up a book, the first thing I need to know about is the author. In Islam, we're not allowed to do that. Ulama do not do that. You do not just pick up a random book and just start reading until you find out who the author is. What's his background? What's he about? Why did he write the book? And yet here we're sending our kids to these people, and ask most parents. A lot of parents don't even know the names of their teachers, much less who they are. So who are these people? What are their backgrounds? What's their akhlaq? What are their beliefs? What are their influences? What are they actually doing with your child in that classroom? What and how are they teaching your child? And here's the big question. Why do you trust them so much? And people that will come and ask like Sheikh Mahmoud or whoever the Imam is, give me proof, I need a dalil for this hadith and I need like, subhanAllah, you didn't go to school and ask them for a dalil proving the qualification for that teacher to teach your Muslim child. But a hadith, right, that is a targhibi hadith that is giving encouragement, like this is what's got your feathers ruffled. Do you see the irony? Now, work and social status. This is overwhelming. This is the overwhelming priority right here. This is what our children are taught. But this is not where our identity is defined, nor is it our purpose in life. Marriage and kids, it's not understood or prioritized properly. Average age of marriage, 30 years old. And they're still not ready. You want proof? Here it is. Without using the words, my opinion, I feel, my understanding, give me an objective answer here. What is the definition, the understanding of marriage, motherhood, fatherhood, being a husband, being a wife, parenthood, and ummah in Islam? And again, not your opinion, not your how you feel, not your understanding, but the reality that exists within Islam regarding this terminology and these ideals, institutions, if you will. Now, here's the question. If you and I don't know, what are we doing? And if you and I don't know, what are we showing our kids? And if we've shown that to our kids, why are we surprised at the results? It's what we showed them. We told them that education was important. So they put all their effort into education. Now I deal with these brothers and sisters, Allahu Akbar, in terms of their given fields, mashallah. They're these like cream of the crop. Cream of the crop. You start talking about their like particular field, like mashallah, they will blow your mind. It's amazing. But as soon as you step outside of that realm into real life, outside of work, they're toast. Can't function. Even the brothers now, they're so hypersensitive, it's wild. It's like the women are becoming more masculine and the men are becoming more feminine. So now like the issues are the women becoming so aggressive and the men are becoming so hypersensitive that like the wife is like telling him like, man up. And he's like, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. And he's like, oh, what planet am I on? What planet am I on? Right? This is not normal is my whole point here, right? Even the last one, look, what are Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? All this collecting of like this and that and the other and hoarding money and like how much I have in my bank account. Yani, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he have when he died? Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, what did he have when he died? Umar, Uthman, Ali? What did Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiyallahu anhu, by our standards, right? Was the equivalent, I think the number comes up just a hair, just a little bit under $1 billion. At the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're talking about somebody who was almost a billionaire. Probably was. It was just at the time of his death, a little bit under. What did Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam say to him about passing the bridge of Sirat because of his wealth? 500 years. And that's if you took care of everything the way you're supposed to. But yet here we are. You see? And we're not understanding like the basics. So like I want a Quran, I had a hadith, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. There is nothing to talk about. You want to talk about algebra? Beautiful. Me too. I love it. You want to talk about calculus? You want to talk about geometry? You want to talk about trig? You want to talk about physics? MashaAllah. By all means. But first, Before we start talking, let's make sure we can do the work. Can you do addition? Can you do subtraction? Can you do division? Can you do multiplication? Because if the answer is no, why in the world are we having conversations about trigonometry? Why does everybody want to talk about calculus? I'll tell you why. Because of egos. We like to think of ourselves more than what we actually are. And that blinds us to the reality that is actually us. And it becomes the number one impediment that stops us from reaching our full potential. And what does that do? It causes a ripple effect. And then our children suffer next. So even the notion, right? The notion, think about this. This model that we have up here right now is based on shirk. You are more than welcome. They're like, I'm getting ready to do the Q&A and everything. Like, you are more than welcome. Challenge me. Like, prove it. Prove me wrong. This is every day. This is our kids right here. This is based in shirk. Prove me wrong. We got to deal with the foundations first. Then we can talk to our kids. You want to know the word that kids like using about their parents? Hypocrites. That is the most common word that children are using about their parents when they come in. And mind you, because I want to be fair to them, they're not saying it maliciously. So they're not like, my parents are hypocrites. No, it's not like that. They're saying more like the thing, like it makes it difficult for me to like communicate with them or listen or like to like is because it's the hypocrisy. It bothers me. Do you see what I mean? So even the way that they're saying it is there's some adab that is there. It's not like they want to call their parents something bad. It's not like they don't love their parents. Like we love our parents. You love your kids. Your kids love you. I like to think that, you know, for the most part, there might be some exceptions. Hopefully not. Right? So this stuff hurts. Imagine your child talking to somebody and saying like, yeah, like the issue that bothers me about my parents, about my mother and my father is that they're hypocrites. They like talking. They don't do. They like complaining, but they won't solve. They like raising issues. They don't like bringing solutions. That's my parents. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? Do you see? So when we're looking at this, how do we fix it? How do we, meaning collectively, how do we all fix this? Because it is very fixable. Not only is it very fixable, it is easily fixable. It is easily fixable. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. Something that is incredibly important, Allah Ta'ala doesn't make it so difficult that you can't do it because you need it. Hence, like, for instance, eating and drinking. Okay? Yeah, we like good food, but at the end of the day, a couple of saltine crackers and a glass of water, and we can go on just fine, isn't it? MashaAllah. All right? So as far as like our essential needs and solutions, it's easy. We can do it. So let's look at it. So the adult Muslims, the community, that's you guys. Generate an environment of taqwa in the masjid and in the community by following Rasulullah ﷺ in priorities, worldview, words, and actions. Don't be judgmental of these young people when they come into the masjid. Let them breathe, right? If we've got the environment, let the environment and the atmosphere do its thing. It takes a little bit of time. They got to marinate in it, okay? But they're not under any pressure. They're not being stressed. They don't feel like they're being judged, yeah? They feel comfortable to be in the masjid. They're getting nothing but love and mawadda, right? So like an affection and everything from the people. They don't feel like they're being judged. Yeah? Support qualified individuals within the community who are capable of fulfilling the advanced portion of our collective responsibility to our children and those entering Islam. Collective responsibility. So, what does that mean? So who are qualified individuals? That needs to be defined, right? Will you say capable of fulfilling the advanced portion? What's the advanced portion? What's the whole portion? This also needs to be discussed. Their collective responsibility. What is that? How is it defined? What all does it include? You see what I'm saying? Like, we need as a community to actually engage in these discussions. We need to be educated on just the solution itself first, then educated about implementation. The youth, where are you guys at? I see you youthicists. Care enough about your eternal existence and your responsibility to the ummah. Stop blaming your parents for everything. Stop blaming the community for everything. Stop blaming society for everything. Take responsibility and accountability for your own life. Put some steel in your spine. Life is hard. Get over it. It was hard for everybody that came before you too. You being wishy-washy in the whole, what they call it, snowflake, is to your own detriment. If you're going to wait for this world like to send you like people with, baskets of flowers like to throw in your path like as you go throughout your day, right, and to pat you on your head every time you do something good like they used to do for you when you were in school. You want a participation award for today? Forget about it. This is real life. This is love. This is what being an adult is like. You don't get to be coddled. You don't get to be pampered. You don't get to whine and complain. Especially you young brothers. Get the work done. Be a man, as defined by the lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Get ready. You go out and get the knowledge. You go out and learn what a mother and a father is, what a husband and a wife is, what marriage is, what an ummah is. Don't wait for anybody to come spoon feed you or to bring you knowledge on a silver platter. You want to get married? Okay, beautiful. What is it? Because as far as I'm concerned, the young people are like, Sheikh, can you help me? I want to get married. What's marriage? Nope, you're not ready. Sorry. Next. You want to get married. It's like, I want to go like be a doctor. Do you know how to be a doctor? No, but I want to do it anyway. Oh, what kind of surgeon? I like cutting things. He's like, oh, Allah, subhanallah. And now we got young people. I want to get married. I want to get married. So you can do what? Oppress another human being? You don't even know what marriage is. You don't even know what your rights are. You don't know what her rights are. So instead of marriage, you want nikah. That's the real issue. Nakahayan, yeah. You know the reason nikah? You know what it originally means? Yeah, I taught you, yeah? It's marital relations, gentlemen. This is the whole point. The whole point of the nikah is that he becomes halal for her and she becomes halal for him. And now they are a family, and then they procreate, maybe have some kids, and they live life together. Two halves of a whole. Half your deen. Right? So, young people, stop complaining. Get to work. And if you're really ready to work, come see me. I got work for you. I have work for you. You want to grow? You want to mature? You want to develop? You want to reach your full potential? You want help bringing it out of you? You ready for some tough love? Come see us. We love you too. And we're here for you to help you because we know that you need help. You need assistance. I needed it, and Allah gave it to me. I would not be here for not the line of people. I am the product, the result of all of those people. Nothing other than that, by the fadl of Allah. All right? Now I want to be, allow us to be a part of your life and allow me to give back to you the same way that it was done for me, inshallah. All right? Masjids and organizations. I'll talk to them about that. And then Islam of Mind, what we do currently. You can read that on your own. These are conversations we are actively engaging in with Masjid and organizations in the northwest suburbs, right? Because again, this whole notion of I know Chicago's a mafia town, right? But like we're not setting up like little like dominions and whatnot, right? We're supposed to be, even though yes, we have our own neighborhoods and our own communities, but we're still one ummah. And at least, like, mashallah, we should at least on that scale, right, figure out how to work together, right, collectively for the benefit of ourselves and our families and hopefully the children and generations to come, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. I know this is a lot. And as is most of the time when we're tackling these issues, it appears to be extremely negative. That's part of the humility that's necessary, because like that negativity is a part that we have to swallow. Because it's just the explanation of the reality of the situation. What we're calling or deeming or terming negativity is just statements of reality. It's just that we don't like it. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel bad, right? To a certain degree, one brother's like, yeah, it makes me feel like a failure. You're not a failure till you die. If we're like, may Allah Ta'ala protect all of us from dying as failures. But life, we fail all the time. That's how we learn more from our failures than our successes, isn't it? Isn't that what they say? Right? But that's the whole thing. Let's look at the failures. Let's look at our mistakes and let's learn from them. This doesn't have to be negative. Because if we're learning, isn't that positive? And if we recognize the mistakes and we're doing istighfar and we're making tawbah, that means we're getting closer to Allah. Isn't that positive? And if we're talking and having these discussions, and now, mashallah, we are actually in a position to implement solutions and cause this impact, bring about change. And it changes the lives of our young people. It changes the lives of society, literally, generations to come. Isn't that positive? So why is it that when we actually have to address issues, all of a sudden like, oh, this is negative? It's not negative. What's negative is if we let it go as if it's not happening. What's negative is we let it go and we don't address it. What's negative is if we can't even find enough humility in our own hearts for the sake of our children to be able to come together and work together and get over the pettiness and the little things that like shaitan tries to use to drive wedges in between us, to get over all of that nonsense. Why? Because I can't remember what book, but something like the problems or the issues or the situation of the whole world can be summed up in a single statement. This is a dunyawi thing. This is not from a non-Muslim, but you will understand, inshallah. That statement is, children are dying. While we complain and we like our life and lifestyle and the pettiness and our jacked up priorities, right? And the accumulating things and the Netflix binging and this, like, look, understand something. While we're throwing food in the garbage can, while our masajid are empty, children are dying. From hunger, from war, from abuse, from neglect, from mistreatment, oppression, injustice. Children are dying. The whole world situation can be summed up in those 3 words. You want to know the extent of the selfishness of a human being? Collectively, we know that children are dying. What are we doing about it? We enjoy our food, our homes, our possessions, our jobs, our indulgences, our luxuries. We siphon off when we feel like it, time for deen. And then, unfortunately, this is like people like me, but this is a constant battle. Then even, subhanallah, if you do have any status or whatever in the community, now what's the biggest issue? Somebody shows up in the community, they do a little bit of community service, some volunteering or what have you, and now subhanallah, now they think they are more than what they are. Now we got to deal with that ego problem. From what? So you did khidmah of the deen of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and it made you arrogant. May Allah have mercy on us. May Allah have mercy on us. But it's positive. Keep it positive, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with these children. This is a huge topic to try to squeeze in this time period, but it wouldn't done any good to break it up into two pieces, right? Especially a month before the next one. So I would have liked to have gone into a little bit more detail. We can go into more detail. I gave the even definitions, terminology. We need to get into all of that, okay? But that's the whole point. Those discussions need to be had, which means that we need to be here to engage in those discussions. We need to be ready. We need to be available. And we need to put the resources in front of those individuals who are qualified so that way, inshallah, if I don't have the time to do the work, but I got the money. You do the work, I'll pay for it. That's usually how it works. Rasulullah said, like Sahaba, like every time, like, we'll pay for it. You're doing the work 24 hours a day. Least we can do is pay for the work. We'll fund the work. We'll fund the effort of Iman. We'll fund the effort of taqwa. But are we looking at it like that? Funding the khidmah of the deen of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For the sake of ourselves and our children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. May Allah ta'ala accept us and save and protect our children and our progeny that come in the generations after us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. I regularly make the statement, but again, I always feel compelled that I need to make it again. I do realize that usually that you brothers, you sisters, you families that come to the masjid for programs like this are usually the ones that probably needs to hear this least. You're usually the ones who are more willing to engage, more willing to do things, like get involved with the community, donate, etc. Okay? So as always, my intent is this. I look at it like this. You brothers and sisters that are here, I am here sharing information that you will take on and you will talk to your family members, your social circles, other people in the community, right? To get the ball rolling. So please don't take it like I'm talking, and God forbid that this is you feel this, but I'm not talking at you or down to you. I'm more like I want you to feel like I'm talking with you. That this is something that you and I are going to be doing together. It's teamwork, inshallah, right? But you just got to be on the same page, inshallah. May Allah ta'ala make it easy for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us. And you gave me extra time. So as always, jazakumullah khairan jaza for your patience. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika nastaghith. So that you know, the next program for next month, I will do a 5-minute introduction just to recap and to get us back up to speed. And I would prefer to use that time engaging with you for that hour about the youth and what we can potentially do and what are the challenges and some of the issues and everything, inshallah. So let's open up the dialogue for some interaction, inshallah, and then go from there. Khair? MashaAllah. Shukran jazeelan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.